You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run.
You're done in this segment.
He called the military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
and
did
he said
not
it on
say
tape. He said stupid bastards.
Please,
He
sir,
said it.
stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that.
play it.
Stop. Sir.
Play it.
Nonsense of the academy. I just want you to know that. Let's clap for that, you stupid bastards.
The vaccination of the unvaccinated. You know, we have roughly 350 million people vaccinated in the United States. With climate change and have zero emissions, net emissions by 2050. By 2020, make sure all our electricity is zero emissions. We should go back to a position of the filibuster that existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago. Way back 150 years ago when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee, we spent a lot of time. From the time I got to the Senate 180 years ago, you know, poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. Margaret Catherine, I love those barrettes in her hair, man. I tell you what, look at her. She looks like she's 19 years old, sitting there with her, like a little lady with her legs crossed. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan.
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Can you get the facility?
Okay. We choose unity over division. We choose science over fiction. We choose truth over facts. All men and women created by you know the thing. My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Patty Young owns a hair salon in Springfield, Ohio. She's also dedicated to getting her customers and employees vaccinated, that when they leave the salon, the receptionist, the salon. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto, trying to get to see him on Robbins Island. When I said arrested, I meant I was not able to move. Cops, Afrikaners would not let me go with them, made me stay where I was. I guess I wasn't arrested, I was stopped. This guy climbed down a ravine, carried this guy up on his back under fire, and the general wanted me to pin the silver star on him. I got up there and stand and said, God's truth, my word is a Biden. He stood at attention. I went to pin him. I said, sir, I don't want the damn thing. Do not pin it on me, sir. Please, sir. Do not do that. He died. He died. I made a mistake. I said it 14 years ago. I trusted George Bush to keep his word. He said he was not going to go into Iraq.
Only way we're going to get rid of Saddam Hussein. And it's going to require guys like you in uniform to be back on foot in the desert, taking taking Saddam down.
From the moment shock and awe started, from that moment, I was opposed to the effort and I was outspoken.
Some of my own party have said that it was a mistake to go to Iraq in the first place. But the cost of not acting against Saddam, I think, would have been much greater.
When I marched in the civil rights movement, I marched with tens of thousands of others to change attitudes. And we changed attitudes.
I was not an activist. I was not out marching. I was not down in Selma. I was not anywhere else.
We don't have a military in Syria to make sure that we're going to be protected. But no one's being killed right now. God forgive me if I'm wrong about that, but no one's being killed right now. It took 2 days to take control of the airport. We have control of the airport now. we're going to get those people out.
But we've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago. Americans should understand that we're going to try to get it done before August 31st.
But if we don't, the troops will stay.
If we don't, we'll determine at the time who's left.
And
if there are American forces, if there's American citizens left, we're going to stay till we get them all out. Okay, promise? I'll bet you're as bright as you're good looking, I tell you. And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
And Joe, who knows her, leaned forward and whispered some encouragement, telling her that she was doing great, that she looked wonderful.
Did his actions make her feel uncomfortable?
No.
You know, the looks like a tornado. They don't call them that anymore. Lucky I have two younger brothers. I'm the oldest of three, and I've got a sister who's the love of my life. From 400 million ordered to 600 million. This is enough vaccine to fully vaccinate 300 Americans. He was a salesperson. He wasn't a coal miner. My great-grandpa was, but...
Hell, I might be president now if it weren't for the fact I said I had an uncle who was a coal miner. Turned out I didn't have anybody in the coal mines, you know what I mean?
Really?
I tried that crap.
I tried with Senator Grassley back in the 80s to freeze all government spending, including Social Security.
For voters to question your commitment to Social Security, when in the past you proposed a freeze to it.
No, I didn't propose a freeze.
Didn't you tell President Obama not to go after bin Laden that day?
I didn't. The president, he went around the table with all the senior people, including the chiefs of staff, and he said, I have to make this decision. What is your opinion? Mr. President, my suggestion is don't go.
Tell the environmentalist wing of your party that you want to ban fracking, but you're telling workers here in Pennsylvania nothing to fear.
I never told the environmentalists that I'm going to ban fracking, period.
What about, say, stopping fracking and stopping new pipeline infrastructure?
You got to transition away from it. Look, you're going to ban fracking all across America right now, right?
I would love to.
Yeah, I'd love to too. I'd love to make sure we can't use any oil or gas, period. I will take responsibility. I won't blame others.
NAFTA was a failure, and they point squarely at you for having been supportive of NAFTA.
What I say to that is, number one, the Bush administration did not keep its commitment on NAFTA, number one.
Democratic presidential candidate Joseph Biden today faces a controversy. 3 weeks ago at a debate at the Iowa State Fair, he used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no platform upon which they could stand.
The problem here is that Senator Biden told his audience he'd just been thinking about these things, and he failed to give any credit at all to his famous British speechwriter.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
But CBS News found a tape of a second instance.
It reappeared in the New York Times with a new charge, that Biden had appropriated a famous litany from the late Robert Kennedy about what the gross national product cannot measure.
It cannot measure the health of our children,
The health of our children,
the quality of our education,
the quality of their education,
the joy of their play,
or the joy of their play,
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
Joseph Biden admitted today that he committed plagiarism when he was in law school. He said it was a mistake, but that it was unintentional.
He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had, the only guy who made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Senator Johnson, your reaction.
Well, the vice president is lying again. Check out page 78 of our report where we show a Chinese company, CEFC, transferred about $5 million to businesses controlled by Hunter Biden. $5 million. So, no, he's lying. He's lying about the fact that he said he never spoke to his son, Hunter, about his overseas business connections. Flew over to China, had a handshake with Jonathan Lee, who ended up being a business partner in Bohai Harvest RST, which was that investment firm. We documented Amos Hochstein talked to the vice president about the glaring conflict of interest in Ukraine. The vice president then talked to Hunter to arrange a meeting with Amos Hochstein. So the vice president has been caught in repeated lies over Biden Inc. about his family's businesses.
One tax loophole out of $1.6 trillion worth, $1.4 trillion worth, out of $1.4 billion. It costs a lot of money. It cost about $740 billion over 10 years. That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons. It's not how we are. It's not who we are as a nation. And it's not how we beat every other crisis in our history. We got to come together. If these governors won't help us beat the pandemic, I'll use my power as president to get them out of the way. The vast majority of the people, those 11 million undocumented, they're not Hispanics. They're people who came on a visa, was able to buy a ticket to get in a plane and didn't go home. They didn't come across the Rio Grande.
It is not true that the majority of the approximately 11 million undocumented people in the U.S. are not Hispanic. One think tank, the Migration Policy Institute, estimated in 2018 that 68% of undocumented people in the U.S. are from Mexico and Central America, with another 7% from South America. Pew Research said that in 2017, 77% of undocumented people in the U.S. were from Latin America.
If we gradually increased it, when we indexed it at 720, if we kept it indexed to inflation, people would be making $20 an hour right now. That's what it would be.
That's not even close to true. The $7.25 per hour federal minimum wage came into effect in 2009. If you link that to inflation, it would be about $9 today, not $20 per hour.
And more people are retired than working. How can they sustain economic growth when more people are retired?
It is not close to true that China has more retired people than working people. In 2019, China reported having 775 million working people and 254 million people aged 60 and above.
For example, in reference to the COVID vaccines, Biden said, which we didn't have when I came into office. Well, fact check, that is, of course, completely false. In fact, he received 2 vaccine shots himself while President Trump was still in the White House.
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the international moot court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
It was, I remember spending time at the, going to the Tree of Life Synagogue, speaking with them. It just is amazing these things are happening.
The students, is now a time to forgive student debt and then restructure how we pay for college so we're not here again in 10 years?
The answer is yes. That's why I proposed and the House, Nancy, put it in the plan to immediately provide $10,000 in debt relief as stimulus right now for students.
That was when he was running for president, but now he is president, and guess what? He lied. He's not going to be doing it. He made the decision that it won't be part of any sort of plan going into the future. This is despite the fact that he's promised to spend $10 trillion.
Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education.
That moment shining new light on a long-ago chapter of Biden's life. From his earliest years in the Senate, when he strongly opposed mandatory school busing. It was designed to achieve integration and a more equitable education.
President Biden to respond.
I never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
No new fracking.
We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. Ends.
3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. I support private insurance. That's why not one single person with private insurance would lose their insurance under my plan, nor did they under Obamacare.
People across the country are finding out they're losing their existing insurance plans under Obamacare. That's because requirements in the law, like prenatal and prescription drug coverage, mean their old plans aren't comprehensive enough. In California, Kaiser Permanente terminated policies for 160,000 people. In Florida, at least 300,000 people are losing coverage.
Ask you a question, Joe.
Yeah.
You're right here with me.
Yeah.
Have you been on the floor of the Senate? You were in the Senate for a few years.
Yeah.
Time and time again, talking about the necessity, with pride, about cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting veterans programs.
No.
You never said that.
No.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government.
Why don't you just tell the truth here? We all make mistakes.
I am telling the truth.
And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Joe, let me repeat it again. I want you just to be straight with the American people. I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate time and time again talking about the need to cut Social Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true or is that not true?
No, it's not true.
That is not true?
That is not true.
Every single solitary thing in the government.
You know, we used to be, when I first got here as a U.S. Senator, actually 3.5 decades ago, COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, has taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years. We gotta, but you gotta, we gotta reassure, look, here, my message to everybody I talk to, you know, the rapidly rising I don't know, the case where we cannot let this, we've never allowed any crisis from the Civil War straight through to the pandemic of 17, all the way around 16. We have never let our democracy second fiddle way that we can both have a democracy and elections and at the same time correct the public health. So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. I'm not going to, by the way, we ought to be able that trite expression, walk and chew gum at the same time. All right, Chuck, thank you very much.
All right, it's Chris, but anyway.
Chris. I just did Chris. Yeah. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are, well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that.
7 women accuse you of touching them without their permission. Are you sorry for what you did? Are you prepared to apologize to those women?
Look, here's the deal. I am so, like, for example, I actually thought in my head when I walked out here, I mean, do I know, we're friends.
It's tricky.
No, but I should be able to read better. But I have never in my life done anything in approaching a woman that has been, other than trying to bring solace. I'm used to, like one of your staff was, I think it's really important we listen. Whether I sit down next to somebody and it's not invited to sit down. So that's my responsibility. I have to be more aware, and it's totally legitimate. But anyway, I think it's legitimate, and I think it is. And to anyone, but I don't think anyone's ever said.
But they have also said we'd like an apology.
Well, look, I'm really sorry if they.
Nancy Pelosi wants you to say, "I'm sorry that I invaded your space."
Sorry, I invaded your space. I mean, I'm sorry this happened. Yeah. But I'm not sorry in the sense that, look, I was. Anyway.
Well, here's your opportunity right now to just say you apologize, you're sorry. I think we can clean this up right now.
Well, by the way, I did. I understand.
Right. Yeah.
We haven't. There's so much more work to do to figure out how. The one important thing I know. Well, I tell you what the deal was. I did not. What I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to, quote, invade her space. I didn't want to get in a situation where this became, and then when I heard all this about and it was legitimate, expecting a call every time the phone rang, and so I spoke to some leading women advocates in this area someone knew her. I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental my physical as well as my mental fitness. Come on, man. 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 Come on. Come on, man. Give me a little break here.